Hello, today we are going to do sort 31, and we're going to teach you the meanings of some of the words for this, for words their way. And this is words that end in ER, AR, and OR. So the sort itself is pretty simple. In fact, it's very simple. But there's a few words I want you to know, maybe about 5 words here, we're going to go over real quick. And actually, before we even get into the meanings, I will say this is an interesting week to discuss American spelling versus British spelling. And some of my students have already brought this up to me because, for example, you have this week a word like color, which is spelled like this in America, and it's spelled like this in Great Britain or the UK and other countries connected to that. So I'll save that for the end. We can talk about that at the end. But that is a thing for this list, especially this week. But first, let's get into the meanings of some of the words. And we're going to start with tractor. And where I'm from, in Ohio, in the countryside, everyone knows what tractors are because they're all over the place for farming. But where I teach in Tokyo, many people don't know because it's just not part of our culture here. But a tractor is a heavy vehicle with large wheels, usually have deep treads on them, and it's usually for farming. So that is a tractor, a noun. Next we'll do solar, and many students knew the word solar from like solar system or solar panels, but they didn't know exactly what it meant. And what solar actually means, it means it's having to do with the sun. It's an adjective. So the solar system, all of these planets go around the sun, so that's why it's connected to the sun. Solar panels or solar energy, it is really energy from the sun. And to just give you a quick bonus word connected to this, do you know the word lunar? Lunar is a similar word, but it means having to do with the moon. So again, 2 kind of space or astronomy words, solar and lunar. And next, just a few more this week. Most people have at least heard of the word grammar, but you might not be able to define it exactly. But it is the rules of speaking or writing a language. So words and sentences and how they fit together and verb tenses and all of that fun stuff, that is called grammar. And every language has its own grammar. English has grammar, Japanese has grammar. Each language has its own grammar. And next, let's do rumor. And a rumor is a story being spread around, even though the story might not be true. So someone's spreading a story, and people are not sure if it's true or not. That is a rumor. And I'll link to some examples of that in a video at the end. And then finally, let's finish with the word harbor. And harbor was the word that most of my students needed help on more than the others. And it's a good chance to learn some other similar words. So first, let's talk about the meaning. So a harbor is a place on the coast of water, and it's sheltered. So it's protected from like waves and things, and boats can dock there and unload. So any place or a city where there's a place where the boats can come and it's protected from waves and things like that, it's called a harbor. But this is a good chance to learn some other very similar words just so you can build your knowledge a little bit. So let's do some of those. And one word you may have heard is the word port. And a port can mean the exact same thing as a harbor, or the word port can also mean a town with a harbor. And also, for very large version, we can have bays and gulfs, which are similar to harbors, but they're much bigger. They're parts of the ocean that are surrounded by land, and I'll show you some of the more famous bays. So in Japan, if you look at this little part of Japan here that I just circled, that is Tokyo Bay. And if you zoom in on Tokyo Bay, it looks like this. And Tokyo is one of the largest cities in the world. It has the most people of any city in the world, I think. And probably the main reason why is because there's this huge bay. And on this bay, you've got all sorts of different ports. Like these 5 ports plus more are spread all the way around this huge bay: Yokohama, Chiba, Tokyo, Yokosuka, Kawasaki, and more. So it's this huge bay, which is the reason why Tokyo is the biggest city in the world. Another famous bay would be San Francisco Bay. You may know the Golden Gate Bridge, and this is the big bay for San Francisco. And another reason why it's one of the big cities in the world, or famous cities in the world, is from the bay and all of the boats that go there. So that is a lot of information that came from one simple vocabulary word of harbor. But I think that's important information to know, important words for you to know, just for your general knowledge. And let us finish this with some quick notes on American and British spelling. So most words, I would say like 99% of the words are spelled the same in America and Great Britain, but there are some that are different. And the main reason why is in the year 1828, this grumpy looking guy, no offense, named Daniel Webster, wrote the most famous dictionary of all time. And he basically decided how some words were going to be spelled, and he chose to make some of the words different, and America took his dictionary. So that's why there's just a few differences. And for the sake of this week's words, the differences are all about the OR ending, because they will become OUR if you're using British spelling. But it's not every single OR word, so let me show you the ones. So you've got rumor, harbor, favor, flavor, and then I mentioned before color. Those are the ones on this list for this week that would have British spelling. So if you prefer this spelling, if you are part British or coming from a different country that is like Australia or whatever, you can make your 4th group of words and use OUR instead. And I think that is enough for this week. So thank you for listening, and I will add some links to other word study videos and then rumor sentence examples. And thank you and goodbye.